See, kind of from an opening remarks, I received an email from Diane and a memorandum about the issue of conflict of interest. It's one that she brought up at our last meeting. It's an issue that we need to kind of get through, and so at our next meeting in July, we'll bring that up. It'll be a item on our agenda, and we'll work our way through that, and any comments we'll kind of get out as quick as we can, or thoughts. I don't know, like y'all, if y'all are having the same thing that I am with vacation and kids out and stuff like that, so not really intentional, but it needs to be there. Those are my opening remarks. Anybody else have any opening remarks that they would like to make? If not, we have on our agenda the approval of the minutes for our April 29th and May 27th meeting. At our April 29th meeting, there was a question of exactly what the comments were that the mayor made. We have redistributed those with those comments, and they have been marked. Are there any questions about the April 29th minutes? Any additional questions? May I have a motion for approval? And a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So those, this is a great accomplishment, y'all. That's our first set of minutes that we've gotten approved. It's remarkable. The next item on our agenda are the May 27th meeting minutes. They have also been distributed to everyone. Are there any changes, comments, additions, or deletions that people would like to make to that set of minutes? Hearing that there are none, may I have a motion for approval for the minutes of May 27th? So moved. And a second? Second. Second, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Those minutes pass. So we've gotten a lot done there. So what we're going to discuss now, Steve Goodrow is going to walk us through the downtown route overview, which has been previously sent to everyone, as well as kind of our map for our tour today. But Steve.
Thank you, Bert. What I'd like to do is just spend a couple minutes and just take a look first at the original downtown route that was part of the 30% plans. And as you can see, the route would be in the downtown area would be on Broadway all the way up to the Bridgestone Arena. And as you recall from our last meeting, that there would be a station here in the 30% plans, and that station would have to be depressed to allow the platform to meet ADA requirements. And again, in the 30% plans, the route would then run both northbound and southbound on Fifth Avenue. And the two stations that they had identified, one at Church and Fifth, and one almost at Commerce and Fifth. The slope in here is about 5%, which is more than what ADA allows. So that, you know, these two items really weren't really practical. And so it was, you know, beginning to drive the idea of maybe another route might work out better. And the other thing that we found out, just talking to operators and people along this Fifth Avenue, is there's a lot of traffic as far as loading and deliveries. And it would be hard to have two buses pass each other if there were a delivery at a particular time. So with all these couple of things here, we thought it would be better to go with a different route. We started to look at, is there a more practical route through downtown that would service the project and the community better? And so we looked at some different routes, and this route is what we're proposing as an alternate. And the route itself would come down to Broadway to 8th Avenue, and then would turn north on 8th up to Commerce, and then turn right on Commerce heading eastbound. And then at 6th and 5th, we would propose two stations. This would all be curb mixed flow running. And then at 5th, we would propose the the route to turn north on Fifth Avenue. And that would allow buses to pass any deliveries that might be on the route. It would also eliminate the slopes between Commerce and Church, where the slopes are very steep. And then we would propose a station just north of Music City Central, so that you could drop off there and then make meet other buses there at Music City Center. And then the route would then turn further north on Gay Street. The reason we chose Gay is that it's a wide intersection that the large buses could make those turns. And then the bus would then continue over to James Robertson Parkway, and again turn right and go down to 3rd Street. An alternate would be to just continue on Gay all the way to 3rd Street. And we're looking at how the traffic would flow at this intersection. But in the end, you'd end up on 3rd Street, going down to Union, and then taking Union up to Woodland and going out to East Nashville. We did have some discussions with Metro Public Works in regards to how they control traffic during large events. And a lot of the streets here are closed about 200 times a year. And we thought that we probably should just avoid this area in general, because then we'd be rerouting almost every other week. So that's mostly why we did not go down there, although we did explore that with various groups in the city. So this is the route, and we think that it provides, a practical solution where we can have platforms that are in locations that we can meet the 2% and still get around downtown pretty well. Okay, and on the way westbound, again, you'd come from East Nashville across the Woodland Bridge and then circle down to Union. Right at this corner with First and Union, we would have the first station. And then as you cross the intersection with Second, you'd have a second station there, the westbound station. At Union and Third, the bus would then go northbound. And again, we would take the bus all the way up to Gay Street, again, so that the bus would have plenty of room to turn. These buses are pretty large and they need a lot of space. Then they'd go west on Gay and then again turn south on 4th. Then we would take 4th all the way south to Commerce. And then right, again, just north of Music City Center, again, we would have the westbound station so that people could get off and exchange with other buses. And then, again, the bus would just move all the way down through Commerce and then turn west on Commerce and pick up the route again. One thing I like about parallel routes is that someone could be here. Let's say someone gets off here and they wanted to go back south, they could. And someone could get back on here and go back north, so you sort of have a little loop, as people begin to know how the buses operate. So you have like a little loop going on here, which would be pretty beneficial, I think, for those that walk in that corridor. Just what we did do, we did have some design issue meetings with Metro Public Works. We spoke to them about it. We spoke to some stakeholders about the project. We actually drove the route with MTA buses to make sure that it worked. So we've confirmed the feasibility of it, and we spoke with their operations staff, and operations staff is pretty comfortable with this. So we've kind of taken this through the different steps necessary. I'm just taking a look at some of the stations. This first one here is Commerce and 6th Avenue. Just before the awning, we could have a drop-off there, or just before the signal. We haven't decided exactly until we have our survey completed. We won't know what exact utilities are in the street, and that may help us decide which particular specific site we'd want. Yes, sir.
Does the proposed construction at that site will that have any effect on the route of having to close for new utilities or anything like that when that starts? If it does start?
I mean, there would be some closures for construction. I don't know, could you ask that question again about the...
Well, As I recall, there's a proposal to renovate the old convention center
Oh,
site.
okay. Right.
I'm just wondering if that would have any long-term effects on the route, cause any closures along, just right where that station is going.
Right. We've not heard of any negative feedback about that, but it's certainly something to consider as the design for the convention center moves forward.
Different question. Could Fifth Avenue go back to being one way if you did this? Not a facetious question.
Anything's possible, right?
That's probably not your decision, but I know there's some folks who, Tom, I don't know whether that makes sense or not.
I agree with Louis on this Fifth Avenue thing. I've got some questions about that, the access with the delivery vehicles and how it would work. Because Fifth Avenue is,
Oh, it's very full. That's why we've made it one way. I mean, that's why we made the bus go in only one direction, so that if there's deliveries, you could pass around the delivery.
This, what we're proposing leaves that option open.
So I
I can just say from, Traffic and Parking Commission, there was not any opposition when it came through. And also, a lot of people thought this would be good for tourists, because then it's not as confusing having a lot of one-way streets. So the two-way, I haven't seen any significant, now I know there's some adjustment period, trying to get used to that, but I'd like to hear more if anybody.
It's functioning.
Afterwards.
It's functioning well now.
That's
Is it?
what I had thought.
My information may be old, too. So, yeah.
Well, always angst when the street changes direction.
Right.
Changes up.
Steve, while we're talking a little bit about specifics, could you talk briefly about the reasons for choosing Commerce between 4th and 8th rather than, say, Demonbreun as an alternate to Broadway?
Sure.
David, we actually, our first choice was Demonbreun.
Okay.
Just because of the activity of the Convention Center, Omni, Hall of Fame, Arena. Public Works pointed out how many events we're having there now. It's 200 a year that affect the street pattern there. And so they advised us that we probably shouldn't do that.
Okay.
So we did. We actually picked the Marine first. This was the second choice.
Thanks.
Okay.
One question. What is the distance between the MCC Convention Center and the closest station?
Oh, from here down to
Now
those
The convention
stations?
center.
the Convention Center.
Oh.
New one.
The other MCC.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
About 600 feet.
Thank you.
Yeah, uphill.
How does this, does it coordinate at all with the downtown circulator?
We have not overlaid this with the downtown circulator. We want to do that just to see how it would work.
One of the things we were trying to do here with this route, our first task was just to make it work. Make it work with the lane widths, the turn movements that we have to make in the ADA. So those were, we really didn't consider anything else. Our first goal was just to really, can we make it work functionally? And not to the extent that we have to go back and adjust certain things or tweak it, we can. But that was the goal, what we were trying to do.
So on the, going away from the turns on Charlotte, you go through the process where you arrived at Gay Street and James Robertson as opposed to Charlotte?
Yeah, what we found on this intersection right here, for both the buses to pass at once, they just can't pass together. So we'd have to separate it.
On which intersection?
Right here at Charlotte and Fifth. It's these buses are very large.
But only one bus would be going there, right? Because the other would be turning on Fourth?
Correct. But in this same situation, for the bus to even make the turn, it would take out most of the traffic.
So it wasn't feasible from the beginning?
Right, they had some difficulties there to do that.
Okay. And then what would be the reasoning to move the stations further north?
Further north. There's a desire to be able to transfer to other buses at Music City Center. So, I mean, there's a real strong desire to have stations there. I mean, it really, you really need to connect the amp to the main.
Well, but they're north of the station now. They could easily be south of the station, right?
It's Charlotte.
Yeah, there's just more space at these locations. I mean, we could take a look here. There's a lot of driveways. Is the issue. There's a lot of driveways for current existing buses going in and out.
Yeah, the employee base is further south.
Oh, you mean like down here?
No, I'm just saying, if you get another block closer, you're better off.
We're going to look at that.
Okay.
We talked about that the other day.
Yeah.
That's a good point. When you get into that part of the CBD, it's just really hard to find locations.
Yeah.
We're gonna-
Navigation's a little different.
Right.
And Bert, we gotta watch it. Some of these kind of questions we can do while we're out there.
Okay. We can keep going, but
All right, again, these are some photos at the Music City Central. This is Fifth. Again, there's a lot of space here to put in a station. You can relocate some trees and relocate the light pole. And the same on the fourth side. There's plenty of sidewalk and space in here to put a station.
I want to make a comment.
Yeah.
I appreciate Tom's, but I happen to disagree because I think it's better to go north because you're covering an area that actually has future development in it, and you're still picking up the population to the south. I mean, I think your flow is pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with that area. I think actually your route's perfect in that area.
Thank you. And then looking at Union, again, just after the 2nd Avenue signal, we could put a station easily in this location. Again, we'd have to relocate some trees. And then, again, at First and Union, there's an island out here that would work out pretty well. We looked at putting a station on this sidewalk, but it's a little narrow, and we thought it'd be better to have enough space that you could have a more open kind of location. And yeah, I think that's.
so now can we ask questions, Barbara?
More questions?
Any other questions that we've got for these guys? Very, very good questions about what's there. I see it. Yes, ma'am.
What is the traffic flow like on this alternate route? Because my concern is that it's going to take the AMP way too long to do this alternate route. So, especially when it's really hectic downtown with all the traffic. So how fast is it going to get through there?
Well, right now, we're in the middle of updating our traffic analysis for that downtown section. So we don't have that answer yet, but that very question's been asked a couple of times. So we need to just work through what the transit signal priority would look like to move the buses through. I think what does help is that you have one bus in one direction, so that it'll flow better with the traffic. So I think that'll help that particular question. But we'll have a number once we go through the updated traffic analysis.
And Steve,
Yes.
the buses that you're using today to test these turns and these routes are going to be the same dimensions, the same
We're
width
using-
and length
yes,
as the
we're
ones
u-
you'll have in service?
Yes, we're using an articulated bus that MT already has, and they're generally the same size.
Steve, I've got a question, and I missed last month's. We may have gotten addressed, so if it's a redundant question, I apologize. Looking at the route, it's pretty segmented. There's not any real large stretches that is taking people, as I look at it, from one destination point to another. Whether it would be the convention center or a football stadium or something where there's a mass amount of people. So my general question is, this route, as great as it may be, who are the riders that you think, you know, kind of touching on what Tom said, when we live and breathe it every day down here, we know that the vast majority of the people are down in the hub very close to Broadway, and then go up to the courthouse. Beyond the courthouse, you kind of get into, you know, very spotty concentrations of folks, period, much less folks that might ride this. So from an economic standpoint, you know, who's going to want to go from, you know, 6th and Broad, you know, at the convention center to East Nashville on enough of a demand to warrant the economics on this? You know, I mean, I can only base it on, like, the Music City Star, the #1 night in daytime where most of our taxes are generated in Lower Broad and throughout downtown, not just Lower Broad, is on Saturdays. But nobody's ever matched the route to match when the demand for folks in Mount Juliet really want to come down. It just seems it's always focused at 7 in the morning till 9, and then at, you know, 4 till 6 in the evenings, when, you know, there's a reason the parking is a hell of a lot higher on a Saturday night than it is on a Tuesday morning. So that's what I would be interested to know, is who's going to get on this thing and do this?
Well, you know, it just, initially, I think you would see people from East Nashville riding in, those that would work downtown. Now, we are going to take a look to see if there's a place we could put some stations more in this area that would maybe touch more employers.
But where are they going to go, I guess, is my question. If you put it like where you just highlighted it, you know, where are they going to end up? I mean, people aren't just going to arrive at 6th and Commerce and say, I need to get to work at the coffee shop on East Nashville. Let me jump on the bus. You see where I'm kind of going at from reality? I've got 170 employees that work down here, and, you know, this isn't going to affect one of them. Now, obviously, the bus route can't match my employee base. I understand that.
Well, I think, you know, part of the way our downtown works is that, you know, there's a presumption that you have to walk to certain places.
Sure.
I mean, the buildings on Broadway and Second Avenue, a lot of the older buildings don't have parking. So what you have to do is get as close as you can. And the way our, you know, historically, people that are going to the district, a lot of them go to Commerce Street and park their car in the garages, and then they walk the 1 block, or they go 1 block south to the Sobro area and try to park there. So, you know, I think what you start to do is kind of draw the quarter-mile circles around the stops and see what you can touch.
Got it.
But there's also a practical side of it. You know, there was a lot of opposition to going down Broadway.
Yeah, I'm not, I want to be
Right,
very
so-
clear on the record. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'll get
That would be,
flogged when I leave.
So
I think you
some
touched
of
it.
it is, you know, what's left to run on, and, you know, what are people open to running on? So it's somewhat of a balancing act.
Bert, that's a really good point, and at one of our meetings in the next little while, it wouldn't hurt to have a discussion about who's going to ride it. I mean, what percentage are tourists, what percentage live downtown and are going out, what percentage are in East Nashville coming in, what percentage are coming from the west, and we've heard all kinds of numbers, and that wouldn't hurt to
I think that,
just
and
have
then
that
the-
discussion at some point.
The update on the traffic and the models that y'all are working on to give us a sense of not only that, but travel times, et cetera. I'm very cognizant of the time that we need to get to the bus to be able to drive the route, which I think is going to be interesting for most of us here.
Bert, let me make one last point too. There's this presumption that we get a lot like parking, where you're going to go to the front door. And, you know, we talk about the amp, and you're going to take me where I want to go. It's not going to go everywhere, but there, you also can't park everywhere also. So if you decide to take your car, you've got to make the decision of where you're going to park and then walk. And the amp's the same way.
So on the, yes, ma'am.
I'd love to know how many people ride the free circuits right now downtown. Because I just passed a bus that was empty this morning.
Can we get that? I'll tell you what I'm really, we will get that. the conversation, we can continue on the bus. I think it would be great for us all to head out. It's front. We are mindful if we leave now, we'll be able to get back by 2 o'clock and get all of our things.
What time are we going to get back, Bert?
We will be back by or before 2 o'clock.
So I got to catch the plane.
Or we'll go to the airport.